There's not much else I could write on that I'd be more passionate about than what's in this book.
I live my life with lots of different people, and we can talk about lots of different things, and I make it a goal to be a safe person that comes from a place of personal integrity for me. And so I'm thrilled to be able to be a part of something that's probably just an extension of how I do life.
I've spent a lot of time parsing through some of the things that the way that I've lived life, and realized that if I was ever going to make strides in my understanding of why I'm here and what this life is all about, I would have to begin to branch out and reach out to people who are a little bit different than me.
My kids went to public school, and I was concerned about just the vitriol and suspicion and anger on so many different groups trying to influence public education to be more fair to their side, for lack of a better word, than fair to other points of view.
Had lots of friends that looked different than me, liked music that was different from me. My family probably thought I was a little bit crazy, but I always have had a proclivity toward mixing with people who look different. And just as I matured, didn't understand why we had to be separate. I just didn't understand why some things had to be so polarized, particularly along black and white lines, because I'm from the South, the deep South.
And it's really interesting because early in my life, gay men specifically began to seek me out without any rhyme or reason. They would just come to me, and with many people, I was the first person they ever said, "I'm gay," to. And I'm talking about pastors of churches, fathers with children.
I just an innate sense of fairness, I guess, or an affection for people that are marginalized or left out of that discussion. And so I started this little thing called Bridge Builders, and it was not, I was actually doing the work before I started the thing, because the school district I was at was inviting me to help them with other schools and other classes, and then eventually other districts, to help build some common ground between groups that are kind of at each other's throats.
And we have more in common than we have not in common. But sometimes if we don't change our filters to how we see that, we'll think that we're just different, like from different planets. We're not. We're from the same God who made all these different colors, and he loves all his kids. And the same, I want to be loved, I want to have peace, I want to connect, I want my kids to do well, I want to have a roof. Most people want the same things.
I have been in rooms where polarized, angry people discovered an affection for each other and a concern for each other, and then did the hard work of finding what we call common ground agreements that would bring everybody to the table and share it. And I've been passionate about that ever since.
Eventually that led me down a road with a dear friend of mine named Ahmad, who was the only practicing Amir in the entire United States, a Muslim man. And we developed a relationship, and over the course of time, we ended up doing a podcast together, a little video cast sometimes, called A Christian and a Muslim Walk Into a Studio. And that really opened my eyes to a different world, and I realized that people who are different than me, number one, aren't as scary as I thought they were. And number two, were willing to listen to the things that even I had to say.
You know, sometimes you're just not people's tribe. Sometimes you're not. But I would encourage anyone who thinks someone different is scary to really examine what's inside of you that you need to work on, because it's probably a little bit more internal than it is external.
Well, I don't think there's been a more polarized America in my lifetime than the one we're in right now. And I think the last election kind of demonstrates that. I think the current way our government works underscores that. Advocacy groups, media.
I think fear is such a personal thing. And if you've been taught, I think a lot of fear is taught, because most of the things we fear never really happen.
That differences don't make us enemies. We can see things differently, and we can still fight for each other's freedom to follow our conscience without it being tread on by someone else.
So when this idea began to hit me, I began speaking at places and doing things, and I developed this thing that I called the language of agreement. I'm not really sure what it means, other than it doesn't mean that I have to agree with someone. But we can speak a language of love and respect. And so over the course of time, it resonated so deeply within me, the way that I was getting to live my life and the way that I was beginning to view the earth, that I approached the one person that made the most sense to me for this project, a person who might see the world through a similar lens, and that was Wayne Jacobson.
When Bob approached me about, would you be interested in doing a book on something about, language and bringing people together in healing and wholeness? And I as reluctant as I was schedule-wise, I'm in. I'm in completely.
But I'm really grateful about the opportunity to write a book that can be used as a tool to help people connect in a hand-to-hand level, and not just a platform level or a program level, because I think it really starts with us being able to hold hands and laugh and talk about differences. It's important that we can be playful in small things so that we can talk about more serious things later. Sometimes funny things bring us to the table, but then we need another discussion, and it presents opportunities for us to do that.
But we always looked at it as a trio. 3 people telling these stories, and we made the decision early to write the book in a conversational tone, where it's Wayne's thoughts, then Bob's thoughts, and then whoever that third person was.
And then I just happened to be in Dallas and ran across the young woman that is helping us on this now, Arnita. And ran across her in a meeting, just watching her respond to the room, watching her heart for the very same things I'm passionate about. How do you bring people together?
The electricity that's in the room, it is palpable when the 3 of us sit around a table, and we kind of push and move each other towards these thought processes that I honestly think have an opportunity to shift people's paradigms and change how people think a little bit about common ground.
So the very people you fear are the people who end up being an ally.
And be able to talk about race and talk about our fears and miscommunications and misunderstandings and missed assumptions, man, the world would be a healthier place. Hopefully the book can demonstrate that.